In this video, we're going to take a look at a gray ink by KWZ, their Grey Lux. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help out if you check out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the other gray inks in a playlist here. So if you want to see those, you can see that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, no tone variation. Extra fine took 17 seconds to dry, medium took 22. Scrubby for both showed no color variation, we get none in the writing, and a smear test you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Just take in all of that gray. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Kaweco 475 with a flex nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, but quite a bit of ghosting. Thin paper. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine does look just a tad lighter than the stub or the medium. Extra fine took 24 seconds to dry, while the medium took 30. Scrubby for both give no color variation. There is none in the writing, and a smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this gray is very much a brown moving up. And I'm not sure how well it's going to come through in the video or in the still that's there, and I might take a look at the moment in the video to see if it comes through better. But there is a definite blue line all the way across the top. So I'm going to really take a look at this in the editing to see which one of those shows better. Now the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water, and it looks exactly the same. So we're not expecting any kind of resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, slight tone variation where the extra fine does look a little bit lighter than the stub and the medium, although they look the same. Extra fine took 19 seconds to dry and the medium took 24. Scrubby for both show no color variation and we get none. And the smear test, you maybe could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. This smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I wouldn't use it. There's just too much blowout. If you need to go back and highlight, avoid this ink. Water shows you why that happens, and it matches the chromatography. It completely removes it from the paper. It completely removes it from my pen. The pen flush does everything that water does, and the 1/3 bleach solution absolutely destroys it. The next writing sample is done on life paper. No bleeding, minor ghosting here on the edges. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine, as it was before, is a little bit lighter than the stub and the medium. The extra fine took 16 seconds to dry and the medium 19. Scrubby for both give no color variation. We're not getting it in the writing. And the smear test, you stand a pretty good chance here of recovering if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Grey Lux has a viscosity of 2.42, so normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity is tested and all of that stuff, then there's a link to that video down in the description. But now let's take a look at Apica CD paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. No feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. Solid performance as a black ink. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the stub or the medium. The extra fine took 12 seconds to dry. The medium took 14. Scrubby for both give no color variation. none up here, and a smear test you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Grey Lux has an average dry time of 23 seconds, so be a little patient as it takes a little bit longer than normal to dry. The last writing sample is done on Franklin Christoph paper. Now we have no bleeding, but we do get some spots that come through quite a bit more than you would expect. None of these are going to stop you from using the back of the page. None of them touch the page underneath. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. We do get tone variation that the extra fine's a little lighter than the others. The extra fine took 10 seconds to dry while medium 11. Scrubby for both, no color variation and none in the writing, and a smear test you probably could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Grey Lux, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a green ink by Montegrappa, hiding its color in its name, called Green. Now if you'd prefer a different complement color, there's links down in the description to those playlists. So what do I think of KWZ's Grey Lux? Not gray, it's black. And a black I don't care for, as it can show shading. I said it does, but it can show shading depending on the pen that you're using. My goodness, I think you could get a decent gray if you dilute this ink a lot. A lot of KWZs I've really enjoyed. This one, not so much. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I'm going to accept it as a black instead of a gray, and to get a good solid black tone, I would go with a medium flow pen of any nib size. And I think what you get is fairly decent as a black, but not a gray. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Pilot's Mixable Blue.